Shabbat Shalom. It's kind of famous, Parshat Naso, the part of the Torah that we read today. It is at 176 verses, the longest portion in the entire Torah. Yes, it's a big one. But that's not all that's notable about it. It is also the Torah portion of my bat mitzvah. Fun fact, there you go. Yes, just a hair over 20 years ago today, I became a bat mitzvah. There you go. We have that in common. Now, to be honest, I don't remember very much about that day because, like I said, it was 2 decades ago. I don't remember reading Torah, though I know I had a fight to do it. I don't remember reading the Haftarah, though I remember I had to read the whole thing, 23 verses, all by myself. What I do remember, though, from my bat mitzvah, is the speech. It's not the easiest Torah portion, not the easiest part of the Bible to write a bat or bar mitzvah speech for. Did you actually read it? Did you actually see what's in there this week? Yeah. What happens? There's a census. Ooh, riveting. There's a lot of stuff about contamination. Okay. There's stuff about jealous husbands. Super interesting to a 13-year-old girl. The vows of the Nazarite. We don't even have Nazarites anymore, so who cares? And to cap it off, sacrifices and offerings and, the stuff everyone loves. No. Naso is not the easiest portion for a 13-year-old to write a speech for. Lucky for me, my dad wrote it for me. And I don't really know why he did. Unlike all the Hebrew parts of the bat mitzvah ceremony, I actually felt confident about doing stuff in English. But write it he did. And maybe it's a good thing too, because unlike all the other things I did for my bat mitzvah by myself, on my own, I actually remember the Devar Torah 20 years later. He didn't focus so much on the Torah part, because like I said, there's not a lot there. Instead, he focused on the Haftarah. It comes from the book of Judges, that piece of the prophets we read every week in addition to the Torah portion. And we have the story of Samson. Now, Samson was a Nazir, or a Nazarite. Those rules actually are from the Torah portion. There's your connection. If you choose to become a Nazarite, a Nazir, you can't cut the hair in your head, sorry. A razor shall not touch their head. Cannot consume anything made from grapes, so no wine, sure, but no grape juice, no raisins, no balsamic vinegar, nothing like that. Can't go near any corpse, even if it's a family member. So why would anyone do this to themselves? By choice. The Torah says, Ish o isha ki yafli lindor neder nazir la'azir la'Adonai. A man or a woman who makes a Nazarite's vow sets themselves apart for God. It's kind of like if you're a Jew, you start here. And we already require certain restrictions, stringencies, limitations that are just for Jews. No pork, no milk and meats, a lot of fun stuff that you cannot do because it's Shabbat, a lot of rules, you got to give your money to charity. So you start out here. It's not always fun, but it's stuff you got to do or stuff you can't do because you're a Jew. Being a Nazarite, a Nazir, is something you can choose to take on as a Jew, extra stuff. And in doing so, the idea is that you take these extra Jewish tasks on, makes you stronger in your Judaism and closer to God. Samson's case, though, is a little different. His mother couldn't get pregnant till an angel of God visited her, said, you're going to bear a child, not just any child. This child will be a Nazir, a Nazarite from the womb. Hair can never be cut, yada, yada, yada. And so, being special from birth, would be the one to save the Jewish people from the non-Jewish threat of the day, which was the Philistines. And indeed, Samson's superhuman strength allows him to fight many Philistines single-handed. He's very, very clever. All of it uses it to confound them. And all of this is explained as being from God, because Samson is a Nazarite, Nazir la'azir Adonai, a Nazarite who has set themselves apart for God. Now you might think, reasonably so, that this would make Samson a very conscientious man, very, very holy, very humble. Not so much. He's a very truthful person, very brawny, but he makes some choices in his life. He makes some choices. He marries a Philistine woman, really, Samson, of all the girls. You choose a Philistine. The people who specifically hate us. Okay. He goes around asking all these riddles and generally making enemies, Jews and non-Jews. He hangs out with some disreputable folks, not befitting his status as a Nazarite. He divulges the secrets of his Nazarite strength, the luscious locks, to a spy, and that is his ultimate downfall. My dad explained, remember, he wrote the speech, not me. My dad explained that Samson's Nazarite status, the special holy status, Nazir l'Adonai, a Nazarite, is closer to God. It's an aberration. It's an oddity. You're not supposed to be a Nazarite from birth. You choose to take a Nazarite's vow. You choose to take on these extra restrictions as a sort of spiritual exercise. The Torah is very clear. This is a limited time vow you choose to take. It is not a decision made for you from before you were born. My dad explained this, and it's stuck with me ever since, that Samson, being born a Nazarite person, had no appreciation for it. He could not appreciate he had this special status. He was closer to God. He was chosen to be a leader of our people, but it wasn't by his choice. He was born into it. He couldn't see how special it was, how special he got to be, because it had always been there for him from the start. And I remember my dad asking me, and you know how that is similar to us? Well, 13-year-old me, 12 at the time, I didn't know. He said, we're born Jewish. We don't have the ability to see how special that is because it's always been so for us. He said, remember that. And I always have. In my experience, people who are born Jewish love to complain about it. Boy, do we love to complain about it. Oh, it's Passover, I can't eat any bread, that kind of a thing. Oh, I can't go out on Friday night having Shabbat dinner with my family again. No, we don't have a big tree with lights and presents and carols, and all the stores are closed and all the businesses are closed because all anyone can think about is Christmas, but we have Hanukkah. Sure. Even I complain about Jewish stuff. Me. And I'm a rabbi. So it's easy for any of us to get bogged down in the details, to get annoyed with what feels like all the hoops we have to jump through to be Jewish, and not appreciate why those hoops exist in the first place. Jewish life is made up of lots of hoops to jump through if you think about it. Shabbat, Passover, high holidays, all the holidays. They have so many rules. What you can eat or what you can't eat. How many prayers you have to say. And it's never a little or a lot. It's there's a lot or a lot, or a lot of prayers. It can be so easy to forget to appreciate the beauty in just taking a break from the hectic on Shabbat, because it's a requirement. It's easy to forget the feeling of putting on your best clothes, of seeing your family and friends at Shul for Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. It's easy to forget the chaotic joy that is a Passover Seder table. Even matzah tastes good when you're surrounded by your friends and family, that first crunch. We become inured to all of that, I think, as born Jews or folks who've been Jewish for a very long time, because it becomes so mundane for us. It's just another task to check off. Passover, check. Shabbat, check. High holidays, check. Kashrut, check. Giving tzedakah, check. Bris, check. Bar mitzvah, check. Wedding, check. But these things are anything but mundane. Our laws and our rituals and our traditions, they are meant, like the Nazarite's vow, to elevate us, to make our lives more special, more holy, and in that way bring us closer to God. The story of Samson, and I'm forever grateful to my father teaching this to me so long ago, the story of Samson is meant to serve as a reminder to us of becoming blind to the holiness and specialness in our lives. My dad wanted me to be careful of not seeing the forest through the trees because you live in the woods your whole life. There is so much in our lives we don't think about because it has always been so. And we may be missing out because of that. The gift of being a Jew, yes, of being an American, of being a woman or a man, of being a daughter or a son, a mother or a father, a sister or a brother. These are statuses we just don't think about because we're busy living our lives, so we take them for granted. Not out of malice, we're not bad people, just busy so we don't see them, because oftentimes we are born into them, but that means that we are missing out on what makes our lives better because of these roles that we take on, of these special statuses, pieces of our identity that we are afforded. Now, I can't tell you what yours are, only you know, but I urge you, as I've often tried to do as much as I can to kind of, since my bat mitzvah, really, 20 years ago today, I urge you to step outside of yourself and think, what are the special parts of my identity, of my life, the aspects of myself, the roles I play in the world, the statuses conferred upon me that I just don't see anymore? And what blessings do they give me that I'm just not appreciating? I promise you, your life will be richer for doing this. We are not supposed to be like Samson, blind to what made him special and unable to appreciate it and take it for granted. I promise our lives become more vibrant when we see beyond the mundane muddiness of our everyday lives and instead learn to appreciate the cacophony of colors that illuminates them. Shabbat Shalom.